So that's the house, that's the disco ball, and that's the garden.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice to be here and not in the city, and get away from the craziness. I go back inside. Okay, so now back. You never been here, right?
No, not to your place, no. What town is this in?
Place.
Are you in Traunstein?
It's near exactly. It's near Traunstein, and that's where I mostly stay since 9 weeks now.
What's your daily routine these days?
Huh?
What's your daily routine?
Sleeping.
You sleep all day?
No, sleeping.
No, I mean,
sleep a lot.
What do you do on a daily basis? What does a day like you feel like these days? All right.
I read books and think about what's next, because I have no jobs like every other DJs. All clubs are closed, all festivals are cancelled. I even don't look on the weekend where I was supposed to play today or tomorrow. I have no idea. I already forgot about it.
You had booked flights and booked hotels already?
There was a lot of contract signs with the agencies and till the summer, so it's all cancelled. And there's no flights are off, festivals are down, clubs are closed, bars are closed, theaters closed, cinemas closed. It's all shut down. And we go back to normal. No, it's not back to normal, but they open some restaurants and some supermarkets where, of course, you have to buy food, and people are back going to work. But it's a new situation, totally new situation here with everything. There's so many new rules and limitations. For me, it's like last time I was playing was March, I think, in Hanover. And then I did a streaming in the Pacha Club in Munich.
Right, I saw that.
And another streaming at Blitz Club in Munich. So, but that's just like to support the clubs and support the community.
Right.
But not getting any money or any benefit out of it. So I have to think about how to pay my bills, how to run the show, and I stopped paying my monthly rent. That's allowed.
Okay. German
law says they can't take you out of the house or cancel any contracts. So you are able to not pay your rent.
Right.
For the next couple of months. So, but anyway, I have to pay someday. So
right.
But that saves a lot of people now for
right,
the moment,
just to kind of get you through the moment.
But I mean, on the other side, a lot of people died that I know, like Pascal Feos died 2 days ago.
Right, it's very sad.
And he was a good friend. He was even the first guy who remixed my first record on R&S Records. It was called Definition of House, and he did a remix with Resistance T in 1992.
I remember that.
So he died on cancer, and I'm very sorry for that. And last week there was a member of Kraftwerk dying.
That's right.
It was all around in the press, and I played a lot of shows with them together at Sonar Festival or Pacto Pop or Monegros in Spain. And I remember one show they were playing before me, So I was...
They opening for you?
No. It was just the schedule, you know.
Right.
Okay, I played after them. But the great thing was I was backstage and the robots were performing and, you know, and they were already in the van on the way back to the hotel. I saw it. But the show was still going on.
Oh, come on. Are you serious?
So the robots were performing, you know, was the last track.
Really?
There was no extra or something, but they were already sitting in the car in a black van, closed the door and went back to the hotel. I saw it because I was backstage and the robots were still on stage and performing.
Well,
amazing.
That's the advantage of having robots perform for you.
I mean, yeah, then it was another great thing. I didn't took the photos. They put the robots in their cases, you know. They have like special made cases for the robots for transporting them.
Right.
So they put the robots into the cases and I had to wait like half an hour that they redo the stage and then I start performing. It was amazing. I will never forget
it. When was that?
2005 maybe.
Well, it was after the Expo 2000.
Yeah, it was after that. I also played at the Expo 2000 where, sorry to say, where you did some great remixes. As I remember, official remixes. So, but the worst thing is another DJ friend died called DJ Pata. He was from Munich. Maybe you saw him in the early days of Ultraschall. He died yesterday on cancer.
Really?
Pata.
Don't remember him. No.
I think I can send you a photo, and it's really sad because he was a very nice guy. So I'm on the way now to my best friend because his father died yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
And the story is, can I go on like with all the stories?
Sure, of course.
I mean, I want to know what's going on in New
York.
Yeah,
but I'm interested in what you got to say here.
The father was 96 years old, and he was a hero to me because he was a musician. He played the contrabass, and he was based here around in Bavaria, near Austria, and they went out for shows every weekend to like small. It was not on stage. It was like, we call it Wirtshauses. It's like, it's not a restaurant. It's kind of beer garden.
Right.
With a restaurant inside. But they were the band performing for food, not for money.
Wow.
After the World War. So they got free food. And he told me last year on his birthday that he was angry a lot of times because they didn't get the good food. What's served in the restaurant.
Oh, really?
They got what's left, you know.
So not even the good food.
Yeah, the regular food. The band got the food, what was left, you know.
The leftovers, wow.
And he was kind of not happy about that, but I guess, or he told me they were all dressed with suit and tie and looking really sharp and cool and played music and were singing like traditional music and maybe a little jazz music. But they were performing at the Wirtshaus Beer Garden every weekend. 2-3 shows, got the food, maybe some money, and then of course looking cool and, you know, maybe get connected with their staff who were working there, you know. So they did the same thing that we do or we did for many years as a DJ.
Going right, but as a contrabass player.
And learn new characters, new people, get connected with them, and you know, become friends. So he did the same thing for 50 years, or maybe longer. So I always asked questions, how it was, and what's his experience, and you know, and he was a cool guy till the last till yesterday. To me, he is a hero, you know, because he was involved in World War II. He was in prison with the English guys. They took him to prison, so he was lucky because not get taken away by the Russians. My grandfather was taken away by the Russians.
Really?
Okay, it's and he went in prison into Siberia, and he died there.
Oh, he never came back.
I never met him. He never came back. So this was 1945. And I think 1947 or 48, a friend of him from the same company, how do you say, like military company, or
you say a company or his
his
unit.
How does the U.S. Army say that they have these numbers and stuff, right?
Well, depends on what you're talking about, but usually you say a company or a unit or a battalion or
the unit. Yeah. So one of his unit came back to my mother's house, a farmer's house, where there was 4 little children taking care of the animals and of the whole organization. Even when they were kids, like little kids, and he said, "I promised to bring the message to the family that he will never come back." So that was his thing. He come from Siberia, and think about in 47, 48, how to try to get on a train or walking or
all the way,
whatever possible, come back to Bavaria. Okay, that's just a story with the guys who went to World War II and never came back, or luckily come back, or were taken into prison by the English army. So, and Americans were very friendly to us. Thank you. There was a lot of pictures now in the press here in the countryside where the Americans were standing in the middle of the cities and give information to the people. Like with a translator. I have a photo I can send you. It was in a small town, and there was the officer or some general speaking to a microphone, and there was hundreds of people watching him. What's the new rules, now? And it was May 1945. The Americans came here, and we said, "You're welcome. We're happy you're here," And we had the white flags. And
we give up.
No, some people were shooting, still fighting. Sorry, it's not funny, I heard some people were fighting and killed by the American troops, but there was not a lot of fightings anymore because it was over and everybody knew. And the next a little town here, they were manufacturing like weapons. And the Americans know there's a big factory where they're manufacturing weapons with like thousands of people. It was a huge factory. And so they were afraid that they have some super secret weapon there. So they came with the tanks, and we were told, or the army, the German soldiers were told to stop the streets and make like blockades, that the tanks are not coming on top of the bridge. We have to do an explosion, like destroy everything. That they will find out nothing. But they did it. They played a lot of tricks and said, "Don't worry, we're gonna do it ourselves," and stuff. So they were happy not to destroy their own buildings and their own bridges, because they knew there will be something in the near future coming up. So, okay, I'm sorry, I just...
No, this is exactly what this is all about. We just want to just talk.
Yeah, that's what's happening now. 75 years ago, thanks for the American troops to come over to my town here and stop the war and help the people here. Even there was a lot of reports that the soldiers, they gave food to the people here because there was nothing, So they gave them chocolate or some cigarettes or whatever they had, So the Americans were very friendly with the German people, and that's still in our heads, not in my head, but but I was not born. But
right.
When you see the pictures with the tanks and with the troops in these little towns here, it's really I can't think about what it felt that moment. How, how crazy that was and how out of control it was. Nobody knows how to survive, and there was no food, no nothing. So we are now in a different situation 75 years later. Everybody is in a lockdown.
Right. I mean, it's kind of close to that, but if you think about it, still not there.
No, I don't want to connect it, but it's just like in the press now, because it's exactly like last year. It was 75 years, when the American troops came here to Bavarian.
So you grew up in Traunstein, or
yeah?
And when did you get to Munich?
20 years later, I would say. In the late 70s, early 80s, I went to Munich and started doing my own parties and try to get a job in the regular clubs there.
How did this idea come to you to do this?
Huh?
Where did this idea come from to start doing some parties?
I was already playing here in little clubs in little towns, and I thought, because I was going to concerts and parties in Munich, and I thought I can do it better. I think I'm a good DJ, and I can really, entertain these people with even better sounding. There was like new wave, punk, pop music, ska, reggae. It was no, we didn't play metal. Sorry, it was no metal.
Do you remember your first party in Munich?
Not sure. I think we called. Okay, I got it. The company. We had a company, but it was not a company, and it was called. It's so funny. Boogie Down Production.
Ah, come on. Really? You started Boogie Down Productions? You the original gangster or what?
Some of my friends went to New York and listening to. I told you many times, to Red Alert and Chuck Chill Out.
Right.
And and to Kiss FM and of course Tony Humphries in the early days. So, but Red Alert and Chuck Chill Out was our heroes, and Boogie Down Production was early 80s was like the superstar to us, and we said with the Bavarian Boogie Down Production. There's even flyers saying Boogie Down BDP.
So, were you playing hip hop?
Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay.
I mean, early 80s, there was Deutsche Welle, new wave, punk, ska, reggae, early days of hip hop, of course, Beastie Boys. And if you go back, I loved Curtis Blow and, of course, like early hip hop and Grandmaster Flash and First Five and early Run DMC, and stuff. That was the new thing, I mixed, but I was not only playing hip hop. In that area, I was called Space DJ G Hell.
G Hell, right? I remember you telling me about the G Hells.
G Hell, that was, and then we did the Boogie Down Production parties.
So that's your alter ego so DJ funny. Name, G Hell.
G Hell, yeah.
You gave yourself that name, or somebody else gave you that name?
I was the one who created that,
And when did it switch to just Hell?
Very later on. I remember one night in the club I started playing in Munich called Tanzlokal Größenwahn, and Run DMC was coming to the club after their show because they asked the tour manager, the German tour manager, what's going on, where is some hip hop playing? We want to have some, fun. And the tour manager knew me that time, and he came to the club I was playing, and they did an after-show party at my club at the Tanzlokal Größenwahn where I was playing, and they had the tour DJ with them. He was called DJ Scratch, and he was world champion that year, DMC world champion. So he came up and said, I don't have any records here, but I had this, Beats and Breaks compilations, remember?
Yeah.
And you had always 2 copies.
Of
so
course.
You can hip hop DJ stuff. You can, and we did a party, a jam, DJ Scratch, Space, DJ G Hell, and the 3 members of Run DMC performing with a microphone on top of the beats. And one guy, I think it was J Master J, he always said, I remember this very clearly. He said, "Drop the beat back, G." And it was recorded on tape. Until today, I don't know who has that tape. It was a 1 hour freestyle, scratching, looping, and they were rapping on top, the three guys. I have photos of the party, but not the recording. It was recorded on tape. So
Cassette,
that was the Run DMC hip-hop story, early days. There was a lot of stories. And then, of course, I went to New York, but we didn't know each other. So and there was no Limelight and Save the Robots or whatever. It was not existing.
So I remember stories from some Austrian guys that told me about your first times in New York when you first came to Harlem. Was it?
It was in Harlem. The Patrick Pulsinger and Helmut, they had a group, or it was called, their band was called Sluts and Strings in 909.
Right, there was they had also a techno thing called 3M. Remember 3M?
3M, yeah, right.
Yeah, 3M. Sluts and Strings. I think that was the Tunakan later.
Tunakan and Patrick and Helmut and Patrick. They had some other Sluts and Strings and 909 things going on, and I met them. I didn't know them before from Vienna, or so. I met them, I don't know, at the party in New York.
In New York,
maybe.
You met them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had like a house in Harlem, or a flat with some equipment on the floor.
Right.
And it was kind of area where there was no other white people.
Yeah, this is what year? Like 92, 93, maybe?
Maybe 91, 92. And the Limelight was already going on. Superstar Kyoki, Disco 3000, Lord Michael Lord, who is now manager of Wu-Tang Clan.
Right.
I heard. So we were involved in all that story, and I think we met through the Austrian guys.
Who? Well,
you met and me.
We met through Lord Michael.
Oh, really?
I was wondering if you remember how we actually met. I bet you don't even remember the first time we met.
Maybe with Lord Michael at the Limelight. Maybe.
It wasn't at Limelight. It was a tunnel. And the story goes,
yeah.
Lord Michael, at that time I was working at Limelight Tunnel for Peter Gation. And Lord Michael asked me to take a DJ home to drive him home because I was leaving, and he knew I had a car. Yeah. And he said, yeah, can you bring this guy home? DJ Hell.
Home? I don't know
wherever you were going, to your hotel, to your place, wherever you were staying. Yeah. You had played a tunnel that night.
Oh, wow.
It was during New Music Seminar, one of the last New Music seminars. And then he said to me, yeah, bring this guy. And I said, okay. And I said, hey, hi, I'm Abe. I can bring you home. And you were like, okay, hold on 1 minute. And I said, okay. I waited. I was waiting. 10 minutes later, I'm like, hey, man, I need to leave. Yeah, wait 1 minute. I come with you. And I said, okay. And then I came back to you half an hour later. Hey, man, what's up? I got to go. He's like, hold on 1 minute. You kept on telling me that. And then, like 1 hour later, I'm like super pissed. I'm like, what the hell does this guy think he is? He comes, and then you come with like 5 people. He's like, okay, we are ready. I'm like, what do you mean you are ready? 5 people? I said, fuck you, man. And I left. And I left you there. Really? That was my first DJ Hell experience.
I had this a lot of times because I remember I don't want to leave, It was always a great party, or some friends were playing, and I seriously thought, let's wait a minute, but then and the party changed, and there was some cool tracks playing, and you had a good time, and there was maybe some new people you met, and there was not a single reason to go home or go back to the hotel,
Right. Well, I was tired. I had been out the whole day.
I think we stayed the whole night. But I remember when everybody went to Michael Alex after hours.
Oh, right.
I never went there.
You never went to?
I was always afraid.
You should have been.
Yeah, no, because I knew what's going on. I didn't know what's going on in the real later, but I was thinking, I had enough at 6, 7, and 8 in the morning. I don't need another after hour or any. Go to some places and then party for another 2 or 3 days. I was always not into that.
Yeah, I've never been a big after hours guy myself. I can never understand it really. Like, yeah, let's keep it going forever. Like, I remember actually the first time I went to Munich, I met this guy. You know him very well, Upstart, and I played for him at it must have been either Ultra World or Ultraschall. The first time, and this is where I met Blake Baxter that night. And he wanted to bring us after the party. He took Blake and me. He said, "Come, we go to the after hours," and he took us to this place called Fortuna, which I guess became Pasha now, or became actually the new club that they have downstairs.
Yeah.
And Blake and me just were standing on the side, like falling asleep, like and then he comes, he's like, "Hey, you American guys can't handle the after hours," and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry." For me, after hours were never really that appealing. I don't. I guess because I never did heavy drugs, and was like needing to stay up for some reason, you know.
I mean, but Upstart was always famous for doing never stop, you know, and that's why he called Upstart. He starts and never stops.
Right.
Nah, sorry, just came up with that. But he's still doing it, I think. I've not many contacts with him. I don't meet him often, but he was famous for doing the weekend and then disappear for 3 days. And on Wednesday,
come back somewhere.
Nobody knows where he went. Private or club after hours, and on Wednesday you saw him maybe back in the office,
right?
You know, because there was Disco B and Gigolo Records in the same office, and I remember every week the people were asking, "Where is Peter Wacher? Where is Upstart?" And we always say we don't know. I have no idea. So he was really into that thing. Don't stop partying and don't. He was really into people. He is really into people. He loves to be with people, and he loves to party. He loves the music. He loves the nightlife community, and he was responsible for a lot of great things happening in Munich. You know, so I learned a lot of things from him. Run a company, you know, open your own label. How to run a club, maybe, you know, the Ultraschall club, first one at the old airport. And we become really good friends. I mean, for a lot of years, we were very, very close friends.
So, we talking about old clubs and stuff like that, but can you maybe just a quick question? Maybe I'm asking you to on the spot, but out of all the old clubs that you remember, which one was your favorite? Old clubs. I mean, nothing beyond the year 2000.
I think E-Werk in Berlin.
Yeah, that was really cool.
There would be a top 10. I would say the Limelight. But only when we played on top, you know, on a real top.
You mean all the way at the perch?
Who was the guy who was friendly with us? Who did the lights and the cages?
You mean Arthur Weinstein?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that Arthur was my mentor. He actually got me going in the. He taught me everything I know about nightlife. Yeah,
he was a superhero to me as well. I was lucky that he liked me and my music, because you know the story with the Richie Hawtin record case.
Yeah, tell it.
You know, I think Richie was playing one night, and Arthur was not friendly with everybody.
No, he wasn't friendly with anybody. Actually, his first reaction was to be really mean to you. So you would come in, you would be in the booth, and he'd look at you. He'd be like, "Who the fuck are you?"
It's his working area, you know. He says, "Yeah, what? Who are you? What do you want?" You know,
and then you would be like, freaked out. And if you didn't stand up to him, he would immediately say, "Get the fuck out of my booth."
Yeah.
But not only that, but he would do that to the DJs, the guest DJs that would come in to play. He would intimidate them and scream at them. He had a very famous line. He said it to every DJ. He had a famous line. After the DJ would play, like a guest DJ, you would come in from Germany to play, right? And within like 45 minutes of your set, he would walk up to you. He's like, and he would say, "Do you have any good records in your box?"
Okay, I think he said the same to Richie.
Right.
Or maybe not. But the story was, or the famous story was always that he didn't like Richie's set or his music he was playing, and he threw his record down on the floor, and the floor was like 20 meters down, you know.
Right, so there was a really very, very kind of steep ladder,
I mean,
or not a ladder, but like a stairway, a small stairway to go up.
A lot of people don't know what the Limelight was. It was a church rebuilt into a club, you know. So
right.
It was on top of the church. It was really high up, and I think Richie never played there again. I think so. I'm not sure, you know.
It might have been. I mean, I wouldn't have if that happened to me.
But I would mention the Limelight because there was never any club like the Limelight the last 30 years. You know, it was very extraordinary, and I had many great nights there. And I mean, there's so many clubs. I always had this idea or concept. When you find something really perfectly, you know, the sound, the light, the people, the organization, you know, the DJ booth, you will come back the next year and it's already changed, you know. And it's hard to keep something. I mean, let's say the Fuse in Brussels was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
The early days from Tresor was like outstanding, you know, because you had no experience in this direction and it was all new, and the Tresor was very loud. They didn't have a good sound system, but it was like very loud, always strobo lights and always folk. You didn't see anybody. Right. And that was a quite unique experience, and that was quite on the top 10 list. But you know, I have to go from city to city. And there was a club in Heilbronn once. I think I played there 94, and it was even illegal because it was an underground. It was like a big space where it was not a club. And there was a hole into the floor where people can go downstairs on the small chairs. So there was only that small, you know, entry. But in the basement was 500 people, maybe more. But it was completely dark. I didn't see anything. And that time, there was no mobile, like iPhone or any lights.
Right.
I remember I couldn't see the records, just with the lights on the 1210, you know, there were little lights. And I always hold the record there. But yeah. I had I remember this intensity that night where I went completely crazy, and the whole audience, I felt it. I didn't saw them. But I felt the energy, and there was a dark room with 500 to 700 people, and everybody went out of control. But it was very illegal to think about it now, and very dangerous, because if there would be fire or any dangerous situation, they would not be able to leave the place, you know. So
right, they would not survive for sure.
But it was. I even don't remember. I asked a lot of people. They gave me names, but I mean. You know, in Tokyo, there was a lot of great clubs for many years. What was the name? Huge club, like 1,000 people.
Like Yellow, you mean? Or
no, before Yellow.
Before Yellow?
Everybody played there. I'm sure you played there as well.
I don't know. Womb? No, this was also...
No.
There. This is...
one of the first techno clubs in Tokyo. Okay, it's easy to find out, but I mean, to me it was always the main cities in a countries like Rio, like Tokyo, like New York, like Berlin. It was never Paris or London. I'm sorry to say, you know, if I think about the last 20 or 30 years, about all the parties I played in London and Paris, there was some good parties, but and even great nights, I remember, but if you put everything together, it was mostly Berlin. It still is, you know, when you think about now with the Bergheim and Panorama Bar, I think it's still the most interesting and best club in the world with, you know, the whole thing, how they run it and stuff. And not because of the hype, it's really like, I feel very comfortable there. I feel very welcome there. And I always prepare like special sets only for that night, because I have this concept for proving it again, since 40 years. I want to prove it again every night.
What does that mean?
I need to prove it to myself.
That you still got it, or what? Or
that I'm not out of date, or I'm not, able to play something that they will enjoy, because there is the top league of DJs playing there, and there's a mix of nationalities there. It's kind of, when Francis Kevorkian did what is Sunday night in New York?
Space, what was it called? I remember the dub parties, you mean?
No, it was Sunday daytime.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm drawing a brain fart right now, but I know exactly what you're talking about. He had these...
And I went there once or twice, and everybody was there for dancing. Like just going there, take off your clothes, mostly of that, and just dancing for 8 hours. And I had also great experience at the Sound Factory when Junior Vasquez was playing. I didn't have did anybody else play there when Junior was resident?
That's all you remember of playing. I mean, that's all you went there for Junior.
There was no guest DJs, right?
Not to speak of. No.
And I was sitting down at the speakers, and he was experimenting with bass frequencies in the morning, and the dancers freaked out. I was like, I never heard that before. It was, your body was moving and it was like a break, but he turned up the bass frequency so high, your body, you were shaking, and so stuff like that. I think there should be even more. I mean, it's a lot of great sound system and PAs nowadays, but there's if I think about the Sound Factory in the 90s, I never had this body experience, or this touching bass frequencies feeling on my body. It was like, and then you can, when then a DJ starts experimenting with the room, with the frequencies, with the PA and stuff, and then you can go really deep. You can really play tracks that really fits for the sound system. And I think Junior did something really special there in the Sound Factory in the 90s.
So we talk about clubs, and of course, there's also other venues to play at, as what I mean is like festivals. What do you prefer, playing clubs or playing festivals?
I said in many interviews, DJ culture and DJ work and DJ life was start in the clubs. This music was never made for festivals or big audiences. It's club music and DJ music, whatever you think. I mean, I learned how to do it on a big festival, but I have this formula. Even on a big festival, I played in a sport arena in Tokyo. It called Wire Festival.
Right.
You played there as well, and I always tried to create a club atmosphere, even in a sports arena with 20,000 people. And sometimes, not always, it was not easy, but sometimes I did it. I made it, and that felt incredible. But it's very hard to create this intense atmosphere, So I think that same night Derek May was playing after me, and he did something unusual. He turned down the bass for like 90 minutes. Seriously, I was on stage. I was like, you can't do that, you need the kick drum, So in this 90 minutes, or let's say 80 minutes, he turned the bass up maybe 20 times. And always he turned it up. People were like losing their mind.
They were praying or begging for the bass or what?
Yeah. The rest of the set, he didn't turn it up. And I was like, wow. I would never have the balls to do that. But it was really fantastic. And I thought, oh, maybe that's a new way of doing it, like a new
new style,
new way for. But I tried the next couple of weeks, but you can't do that. But he did it with 20,000 people.
Wow.
And it worked very well. No kick drum.
No kick drum. No bass on the kick drum. Just a little.
But just like not 4. He played like 2 or 1.
Oh, come on, and then back out again.
Out for like minutes.
Wow.
And it's not coming, and everybody was waiting, but it was. I mean, a lot of famous DJs are working on these concepts even now. I don't say names, but there's no. I mean, it builds up such a crazy energy because you always wait for the moment and it's not happening. So this is a different way of DJing, a different formula. And I mean, that's nothing new, but you can't. I was never allowed myself to do that for 90 minutes or 2 hours.
That's insanity.
That's mind fucking. It's great.
So you prefer clubs to festivals, but out of the festivals, which are the festivals that you like?
I have to mention the Love Parade.
Yeah, right.
Because
that was not really a festival. That was more a gigantic happening.
I was able to play in front of 1.5 million people. Okay, it was 20 minutes. It was at the, we call it the Abschlusskundgebung. Mm-hmm. It means the final stages. And there was just like, let's say 20 DJs nominated to play 20-minute set. And that was, for me, for many years, the highlight of the year. Because I was able to play whatever I want. And I remember I had always crazy intros. Like once I had the Pope speaking as an intro. And once I had like church bells for 2 minutes, like boom, boom. And I knew at that moment, I remember people don't like it, because it's just this, they didn't like it.
You started and you were like, oh, mistake.
No, I said, I have to do that. That was my concept, and I have just 20 minutes. I can't change it now. I have to, because there was cameras in front of your face. Mm-hmm. It was live on TV, live on radio, worldwide broadcast. I remember there was, it's not a usual festival, but that was, to play in front of 1.5 million people makes you body shaking. Also, my brain was kind of shaking or whatever, it's like, it's such an intensity and out of control situation. I remember it was not nervous. What's the next level of nervous? It was such a great release, but also great pressure. And I loved it. And for many years, people said you played the best set on the Siegessäule in Berlin. And that was always my goal. I want to play the best set, and people will remember the tracks I play. And that was always, I was thinking the whole year what I gonna do.
Oh, really? So making that set ready for the whole year, like thinking about it.
I remember at one set I played Easily from Ricardo Villalobos, and DJ Atta from Frankfurt gave me the white label. It was not released. And Ricardo Villalobos was a no-name DJ. He was not popular at all, and I played it as the first track. I played Easily in front of 1.5 million people. I didn't say that makes him more famous, but I was the first one who played it. So there was so many moments. I think you can find it on YouTube. All this like Love Parade parties, and that was. I remember that was amazing. Also. I have to mention Time Warp was always done like perfectly. Great organization and great big festival. I don't remember now some amazing English whatever festivals, Gate Crasher or whatever they did. You were just a number of thousands of DJs and live acts. But I'll also say Sonar Festival was a big thing in the Sonar was always great. I opened for Kraftwerk once at Sonar.
I remember at Sonar one time.
Yeah.
We had a situation.
The police came?
This was crazy. This was actually my favorite DJ Hell moment.
Yeah, but you were responsible because you played the records.
No, 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 no. I don't. Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about. I was supposed to play at Sonar that year. I don't know what happened, but I had a some sort of a problem with flights or whatever. Didn't make it to the gig. I asked Caro, Miss Kitten, to cover for me, and she played for me. She covered my slot when I was supposed to play
what club?
At Sonar at the festival.
Ah, yeah, really?
Yeah. So so I came, but I came late. I came the next day. I arrived there and I couldn't find my credentials, right? There was just some mess up. So I ended up finding a friend of mine, Claudio, who lived in Barcelona, who snuck me in through a back gate, and we kind of snuck into the Sonar Festival. Now I'm an official artist, but I get there, somehow I get my credentials, but I had them in my back pocket. And you're DJing at this time on stage. So I get to the backstage where you're DJing, right? So the security comes to me, and they're like really being really tough. And they come to me, and the one guy with two big guys behind him is like, your credentials. And I couldn't understand what he was saying. I was like, what are you saying? And he's like, your credentials. And I'm like, he starts to scream at me. I'm like, I get like a little bit like, and he's like, he comes in my face and he takes his credentials and he puts them on my face like this. Wow. And I'm like, what the hell? So I took my credentials out of my back pocket and I hit him with it. Yeah. And then I screamed to you, hell! And then you looked over from the DJ booth and saw them, there was a big problem, and you stopped the music and you came over. Yeah, you stopped the whole music in the middle of the Sonar Festival, stopped the music, walked over to me and said, what's the problem?
Really?
And then the security guys were like, sorry.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
This
story.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So many things have happened to us, throughout the years. I forget so many people come to tell me stories, and I'm like, really, that happened? But to me, that was
the music.
What's that? You stopped the record. You stopped.
Yeah, but the other story was when the police were coming on a Monday night because we were not able to stop celebrating at Sonar Festival.
Right.
So we went on Monday night. I think there was everything closed. It was maybe Tuesday morning, sorry.
Right.
And you start playing records in a private situation.
Right.
And never called the police. It was Tuesday morning. And it was it was not a DJ booth. It was just one record player, and you put on records.
I had one record player, and I was playing, and then suddenly you showed up, and you had Caro, Miss Kitten with you, and some other people.
We were a bunch of people, looking for some excitement, and then the door rings, and there was the police outside, and they said, "You need to stop this." It was Tuesday. I mean, we were not like crazy on something. We were just happy to stay together and don't stop this great feeling with the Sonar, and it was huge success with Gigolo and all the artists were very happy. So we said we're gonna continue. Doesn't matter what happened, but the police stopped us on Tuesday, and you were the one who dropped the record. I think.
Sorry.
I think. No, nothing happened. They didn't took us to jail or anything, but. That was a great night. I have great memories of the Sonar festivals a lot of times. Really great memories.
So is this the longest vacation you've taken from DJing? Is this right now the longest vacation or holidays you've taken from DJing, from stop playing?
A lot of DJs break their rhythm or they touring in January, February. And I did it many years. I always went to Brazil and took a break for like 1, 2, or 3 months. And then I was so hot for starting again. I was so happy to do it again. I mean, I had little parties in Sao Paulo or Fortaleza or Brasilia or Rio de Janeiro because I had a booking agency there and I need to get some money in my pocket to pay the hotel or food or my rent in Germany, So I start doing this. I think I did it 15 years, every January, February, and then it became March, and then I was thinking I gotta move there for half a year, so I have to think about buying a house or rent some, private places, and I still have a lot of friends there, but then after 15 years, I was thinking I need some new experience. So, but I had this experience with stop doing what I'm doing for 2 or 3 months, and I really enjoyed it. Now it's a different situation, because everybody's struggling and everybody's have to pay the rents, and nobody knows when we're gonna start doing that. So I'm working a lot in the studio in Berlin. I'm allowed to go there with the car, but it's illegal to stay at some places. So I had to ask some friends to let me stay there. But that was even not, sorry, I can say that. It was illegal, to stay at these places. So I recorded a new album. It's called Past, Present, No Future.
All right.
But the title was already fixed last year. It was not because of Corona. I already said it's no future. I said on my last album, I said I want my future back. That was another title of one of the songs. So the album is done. It's mastered. There's a cover, everything. But I don't want to release it now because it will lose a lot of attention. People will not buy it. DJs will not play it. So I think a lot of releases were stopped now and not released.
I think so too. I think a lot of pausing is going on right now because everybody is afraid that's not going to.
Yeah, I'm afraid to release it now and lose the attention, because it's not. I don't feel it's the right time, and I didn't buy new stuff since 2 months. I didn't buy anything of new music. I have to do it soon. I knew, but there's a lot of things that I'm missed, but I have no opportunity or situation where I can present that or play. And the streaming thing, I have to say, it's not my thing. I can do it to support clubs or the community, but it's not my future. Just do streamings, and
it's not enough. I think. I mean, it's not. It's a nice thing to be there a little bit and to people to be able to see you and so on. Yeah. But it's still not enough to continue.
I talked to a guy. I don't say his name, but he said something that a lot of DJs were working on their own avatars for because at some what's called Fortnite, there was this hip hop guy performing in front of 12 million people, and there's other possibilities when you have your own avatar or inside a computer or video game, that's a one street you can walk, but there's other things with the virtual reality, high definition virtual reality with the watches, glasses, and there's holographic thing where you can perform as a holographic DJ. Or at the same time, I had this concept already with Jeff Mills in the 90s. We talked about it. It would be great one day to do a simultaneous party where you play the same time in Tokyo, in Rio, in Berlin, and in Paris, and everybody can watch it. So you have some holographic performance. Or I saw Jeff once at the Wire Festival where he was he had a protection, like a movie going on some screens, and the screens were built on the left and right side of him playing in the middle. But it looked like there's 3 Jeff Mills playing at the same time. And it was done very well. And if you didn't look closely, you think there were 3 DJs. Because it was really outstanding. It was a great performance. And Jeff is always thinking about new developments and what's possible in the future. So maybe the virtual reality, maybe the avatar, maybe holographic, maybe, DJs try to earn some money, with the streaming or new ways of doing what we're doing.
Right. But at the moment, everybody is trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, if you had to predict.
I have to think about what's my next step. So one idea for me is to not only talk about with you about my life or what we both experienced, I have to write it down. I have to write it down on a book and hopefully get some advance from that, from distributors or companies, and the other thing is I'm really into movies, and I never had the time to do. I did a documentation called Freak Show, and another funny thing is I'm going into acting.
Oh, come on. All right.
I already did 2 movies, and I was acting as a DJ. Yeah, but it was like, I don't want that. So I told to the guy who write the script and do, the next movie, I said, I want to play in character, not just me, whatever, be the DJ. And I hate when DJs
play themselves.
Play themselves, or even appear on a movie. It always looks stupid. It's very hard to get this real look or real feel into a movie. It always felt, and I always felt it's done wrong. So I was thinking, I don't want to be a DJ. And so I said, we come up with this character where I'm a singer.
Come on, really?
And I told him, I'm the worst singer you can imagine, but that could be funny. I want to be the funny guy, the dumb guy, the stupid guy who can't sing, but he acts like a superstar, and because he's in a newspaper. And I recorded a song where I was singing, but I will never play it to you.
Come on!
It's just in the movie, and they already asked me to do a video, but I said, sorry, that's too much. People will mix it, people will take it for they will think I'm really thinking about it, because in the movie I had some parts where I'm saying, I'm tired of being a DJ and now I'm a singer,
What style of music was it? The singing,
The
song that you sang. What style of music was it?
It's with this what is it called, autotune.
Right, but what style? What genre?
We call it Schlager or folk.
Oh, you did it in Schlager. Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's. I mean, the Schlager was really popular in the 60s, 70s, and there was a lot of great songs I even love today. But the new Schlager thing is kind of worse and really bad, and we try to do it as bad as possible, and I think we succeed. The song is terrible.
Did you write the song?
It's the most terrible song you ever heard, but the problem is I think people would love that and would buy it and would I would even get a lot of attention. And the other thing is I don't want that. So I told the guy who directed the movie, I said, we have to keep it low, I don't want to promote this song, it's just for the movie. I don't want to push it. It's so stupid. People will love it, so it's kind of danger. But that's one side. I'm trying to get attention, but it's always, you do it with friends, and that means no money, nothing. But I also hope that the track will not get successful, because this will be the end of my career, because it's so stupid.
Or the beginning of a new career, maybe, no?
Yeah, I know. So, I think about producing. I did a second album. It's ready. It's with a famous painter in Germany, in Berlin. He's called Jonathan Messe. He's quite known and well known in the art world, and he was painting the cover for my album, and I said, I can't pay you, it's, if you paint something for me, I'm not able to pay your regular fees, so I gonna do some music with you. And we went to the studio, at the Tricks studio in Berlin, where also Einstürzen und Neubauten was recording, and other famous bands. And I did a whole album. So I had with this guy singing, screaming, talking, and it's a techno album, but it's quite unusual. I'm very surprised myself how it went and how great it sounds. So, but the other thing is, I have no idea who will be releasing that or who is interested in that, because it's not on Gigolo, because it will clash with my album. People will not understand. So I have 2 albums ready, but don't know what to do with them.
Well, the one before is coming on Gigolo, not the one that the artist.
Past, Present, No Future is Gigolo, and it's really based on early days of house music, Chicago, and it's very old school, 808, 909, analog, but I'm very proud of it because it was done in a very short time, but I think it's great, and it sound, the blueprint was like New York, New Groove, or Lil Louis, Chicago. Ron Hardy, Larry Levan, that area, I tried to jump in there. I mean, you know it better than me. It's like that's our world, and we love that music. So I tried to recreate that, not copying that, but make some, in my way, doing this kind of early, like 84, 85 kind of house music. And I had some tracks sampled Jimi Hendrix, and of course I was not singing. That's the other thing. And so you will hear a lot of samples or a lot of connection to like early days of house music when Ron Hardy was playing in Chicago, and that was my concept, going to the early days of New York house, New Groove, and the early days of Chicago house with Ron Hardy and, like 85, 30 Checkmaster Funk. There's a lot of Czech stuff there as well. And I don't know when it's coming out, but I can send it after we talked. I can send it to you.
Right, I would love to hear it.
Did I send you some? No.
What's that?
I can send you the album. It's mastered already.
You didn't send me anything yet, but
I can send you the whole. It's 8 tracks, full of Chicago acid old school house. Maybe you like it.
I'm sure I do. You said you finished it quickly. It's one of the things that I learned from you, actually, is how to work really fast. I remember when we worked on the New York Muscle album. Yeah. One of the things that was shocking me was how fast everything was happening, and the value of like working fast, like just this is it, and making very decisive calls like quickly. That
I always remember the famous phrase you said, "What's next?" You always said, sometimes I said, you remember, sometimes I said, I don't know, but not often.
Right.
Because I had a lot of ideas and possibilities, but we were a great team, Remember when Earl and Oye came to the studio? I will never forget that day. Because I was in a situation to, get their feelings ready or right. Because I remember, he was kind of, funny guy, and he was trying to be cool in New York, and I think you shouldn't do that, not in New York. If you try too much, you know what I'm talking.
Yeah, sure.
If you try too much, people will maybe dislike it, So, but he was great. You remember he played the keyboard, and then he did this Keep on Waiting?
Keep on Waiting, yeah.
Yeah, and he played the keyboard, and you pushed him really hard, and he was kind of nervous, He was like, he's really pushing it hard, But
I remember my highlight from the artists that you brought to the studio was when you brought Trax in here.
Yeah.
And he was he was recording, and he was out of control, screaming into the microphone. But so loud. I live in my studio is in the basement of my house in the residential neighborhood. And he was screaming like somebody was killing him on the microphone. Let No Man Jack song, right? Yeah. And I was so afraid that my neighbors were going to call the police.
Really?
Because this guy's screaming.
Did somebody get hurt or somebody?
Yeah, exactly. It was. I remember I went outside for something in my driveway, and he was practicing on the microphone. I could hear him out in the street.
Really?
Yeah, he was so loud.
But a funny thing is to remember that he didn't want to do it. And my idea was he did it when on parties or when he was DJing. And I had the idea to cap this energy when he was out of control. And
right.
He was one of the funniest guy I ever met in the music business. I was crying when he went into his, telling jokes or into his moves and stuff. It was one of the funniest guys I ever met. But then he was very afraid when we said, you need to scream, we need this energy on the acid track. And it took us hours or days to push him to do it. And then finally he enjoyed it so much that he started a career out of it in a band, and he did a lot of records called Criminal Minded.
Right.
Or Dirty Criminals.
Yeah.
Where he was screaming and talking because he was a great performer and a great storyteller. And but later on he said that we stole, what's the story? We stole or we took something of his. He was producing the track, I think. That's what he said. Kinda.
I remember it was a long time ago, but yeah.
There was a little scandal where he said, I ripped him off and it was his track.
I remember it was the first social media scandal that I remember. Yeah. And it was so early in social media time that it was on this platform called Friendster. Do you remember Friendster? It was before MySpace.
I was not in there, but it was like 2006 or 7.
Yeah, it was before MySpace. There was a app called Friendster. And he was on the Friendster, and that was like the first kind of social media argument that was happening.
I remember exactly when Tommy Sunshine, our good friend Tommy Sunshine, when we met in Miami at the Winter Music Conference in 2007 or 8, and he said one thing, I never heard it. He said, "Oh, you can. It's better you might." Now he said, "MySpace me." And I said,
like
what?
A verb.
MySpace you? What do you mean? And he said, there's this new platform called MySpace. And I said, okay, I got a MySpace you. I think 2007 or maybe. But I was kind of disappointed with Melvin because he said it's his track and we did the track in the studio together, He came to the studio and he had no experience in the studio, and he was just the vocalist and the screaming part. But later on, he told everybody that it was his track. But I mean, you know Melvin. But there was amazing moments in your basement studio in Queens Hollis.
Yeah, you also had Tommy Sunshine here. I remember.
Yeah,
it
was amazing.
Yeah, those were
really great times.
Yeah, New York Muscle.
And then we got to the store. What was it called? And we got a.
You mean the sandwich store, the deli?
Yeah, sandwich.
Yeah.
What was it called? A 24 or 25 or?
No, it was just 24-hour store, but it was like a 24-hour deli that makes sandwiches. The name of the sandwich,
the roast
with the Cuban sandwiches and the.
Was it Cuban?
The midnight. The midnight was your favorite.
Midnight.
Yeah, the midnight sandwich. Yeah.
Midnight sandwich with everything.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, lettuce, what else?
Its place is still there. To me it's a gem in my neighborhood because it's really amazing sandwiches, and you can go at 4 a.m. and get a sandwich.
I would next time I be in New York. We're gonna go to and get some midnight sandwich.
Okay, we could do that.
I remember. I have to taste. I know exactly how it tastes. It's amazing. Midnight sandwich, best in New York. Best in Hollis, Queens. Sorry.
So I have a question to ask you. How are your cats?
I just saw one running around here. They're fine. They don't care,
I could never. When you showed me the pictures of your cats, I never had you, pegged as a cat lover, but apparently you're really into them. I'm
a big cat lover. I'm a big daddy of the cats. I love cats. I do everything they want. They can sleep in the bed. And then I feel very comfortable surrounded by many cats here in the countryside, and I love cats, and I'm very comfortable with cats, and I'm a cat guy. I love them.
I know you were showing me pictures of your cats.
Yeah, no, I was grown up with cats in a house of my parents. There was always 2 cats in the house, and I put a lot of time every day, be nice with them, feed them, talk to them. Touch them. They were allowed to sleep in my bed. I was waiting for them. Stuff like that.
How many do you have right now?
2.
2? What are the names?
One is called Armando, and the other one is called Abby.
Okay.
But there's a lot of, it's territories here, and there's a lot of farms and other and forests, and so there's a lot of other cats, and they fight for the territories at night because cats are going outside at night, and they have to watch the other cats. So I heard some fights at night, so, but it's like paradise here. We have a lot of mouses and some birds sometimes, but they catch a lot of other birds, and they're really handsome creatures. I really love them.
So you staying there now for the moment? You drive sometimes to Berlin, even during the closing?
I go to Berlin next week to record more in the studio.
Right, you never stop, man. That's the thing. You never stop. Sometimes I have to stop for some months, but you just keep on going.
I have to keep going on because if I do nothing for 1 week or just stay at the country house, it repeats. You buy some food, you go in the forest. I'm already swimming in the lakes. It's kind of cold, but I like it. So, but you are in a country situation like every day, and it's amazing. It's much better than inside the city. But I need to do something. I need to work on concepts. I need to work with people. I need to talk to people. I can't just stop doing everything. I mean, in the beginning, I was reading a lot. But, I read the news and every day and check out what's possible. Where can I go? Or is it allowed to enter a hotel in Berlin? And it's still not allowed because the hotels say we allowed to open, but we're gonna stay closed because it doesn't matter. With all the limitations, there's only 50% of customers allowed. The areas are closed where you can go to the gym or to the sauna. There's no breakfast serving, and you have to go to your room at 8 o'clock, and the staff or the are not allowed to talk to you. They just, they give you signs or whatever, and then you have to sign papers on the table you were eating that they can later on remember who was sitting there. And there's so many limitations. So I think there's no bookings. People don't accept that. So they have 50% allowance for customers, but there is no customers. There is nobody wants to stay there, and there's nobody's traveling right now because the airports is not closed, but there's no flights.
Have you taken a flight during this time?
Not one. And I tell you the truth.
What was your last flight?
I don't miss it because flying, you were living in Berlin. You fly to Berlin, New York, Berlin, New York, like maybe 150 times or maybe more, and it's not much enjoyment or glamorous situations or anything, when you're surrounded by so many people and always.
Yeah, this is one thing that most people that are not, living this lifestyle don't get. It's so hard to live in airports.
I did it for the last 30 years, and this flying, I don't miss any second of it. It was not. It was on one side, it was comfortable because it was a routine, and I felt very safe and very like home at the airports.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And you have even your favorite airports. You're happy to be.
At the Lufthansa lounge, at the business lounge, I have my food there, my newspaper. I go whatever to places. I buy little things because I knew already I'm gonna buy it at the airport, not at the supermarket. So, I counted, it was maybe, but it's like, I counted the hours of staying at the airport when I have 2 shows on Friday and Saturday and come back on Sunday. It was minimum 20 hours. Coming from the airport, going to the airport, wait for the flight, wait for the connection, go to the next flight, waiting at the hotel. Altogether, every weekend, I spent 20 hours, maybe 22, maybe 24 hours sitting in an aircraft, sitting in a taxi on the way to the airport for 2 shows.
And I guess
inside Europe.
The truth is, you get paid to travel mostly.
True.
Because when you play in the gig, you're doing it for fun anyway. The gig is the most interesting part and the highlight of that weekend. But one day I'm sitting somewhere eating junk food, or hopefully not, and try to stay healthy or stay happy, and surrounded by idiots and business guys, because in the lounges there are mostly like business guys, and I really dislike them. When you do it for so many years, you start dislike these people, because they don't care. A lot of stories, and I don't miss that. I don't miss the flights or the lounges or the pickup guy who's not there and you're looking for the guy, and you're tired and whatever, But yeah, I don't miss it as well. I mean, I'm super happy. During the time when I was heavily touring, one of my nightmares that I would have, recurring nightmares, would be that I'm on my way to the airport, missing a flight, and then trying to get to the airport to make the flight. That would be like always this nightmare I would have. I forgot my passport I'm in the cab forgetting my passport. It was always this kind of recurring stress.
I had the same. I agree, but I never found a way out of that. Of this fear, missing the flight, missing the show, missing the connection, and it was every weekend on every flight. Sometimes flights were easy to Switzerland or whatever, but most of the time, you're thinking you missed and I missed a lot of flights, and I missed a lot of connections, and I had a lot of trouble. I can write a book about all the trouble I had on the airports, even fights or stupid situations, and whatever.
Fights? So what do you mean fights? You mean with the...
I had a fight one in a train. There was a fight in the aircraft. I was sitting near to them. 2 guys were fighting for nothing, and I was in the same row, so the captain called the police. It was after we went down, and everybody tries to go out of the aircraft, and these guys will start fighting, and I was near to them, and so it took a lot of time till the police were coming, and then they were very aggressive inside. It was 2 German guys. So the police came inside and asked me what I did, if I see something and who started the fight. And I said, I didn't say fuck you, but I said, I didn't saw anything. I can't help you. I want to go out of the aircraft now, So I didn't help them. I knew who started the fight and why, but there was just stupid guys, I hated the guys who were start fighting, and I didn't like that they called the police, and then the police were asking questions. This stuff happens, but not. It's very like once every 5 years.
Yeah, I had some situations in airports as well. In the beginning of my traveling, I was having an Ecuadorian visa, or like an Ecuadorian passport, and I would get a lot of trouble going to countries.
They ask questions.
Especially in Munich, sorry to say. In Munich, I would have a lot of trouble coming into Munich airport. I was always guaranteed half an hour in a special room.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's half an hour in a special room. They would pull me to the side, bring me in here, and then they were like, hey, so why do you want to move and live in Germany? I'm like, I don't want to live in Germany. I'm just coming here as a DJ. Let me go, please. And it was always the same thing. Always the same thing, especially in Munich. Sorry. But also, I used to play the game crossing the Hauptbahnhof in Munich. Let's see if I can make it to the one side to the other side of the Hauptbahnhof without getting stopped by the special control. And it's always the same. And if I had when I had my American passport, when I became an American, then things got a little easier, but still, it was not.
I remember one story you told me at a Leipzig Bahnhof, or maybe Dresden.
It was in the east, yeah.
Where people tried to attack you.
Yes.
And you were like getting into this freeze movement.
Yeah, I learned this move from Blake Baxter, actually.
Yeah.
We were I learned it. We were one time in Detroit with Susanne Kirchmeier, Electric Indigo, and we were walking somewhere in downtown Detroit, and these guys came around, and they, 2 big guys, and one big guy, one short guy, actually, and they made a line, and they said, cross my line, you have to pay my tax. And they said, and then they pointed to Susanna, and she was like, and they were like, you leave your shoes there. And we were like, what the hell? And then I look back at Blake, and Blake just has his hands behind his back and just stands very stiff like a statue. And I'm like, Blake, come on, do something. And he just stayed like a statue, just staring at them. And they were like, blah, 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 blah. After a while, they were confused and they walked away. Yeah. So I was like, hey, that's interesting. Interesting tactic. Just stand like a statue. Like, and so that's what I did. I was in the Bahnhof. I was actually waiting for a train, and these guys came, they passed me, and they came back, and they had a bottle of beer, and they smashed it on the ground next to me, and they were like, Raus! They were Muslim Raus or something like this to me, and I was like, okay, I'm not Muslim, but all right. I thought about that tactic, of like stand like a statue. I stood like statue for a few minutes. They were around me. They were provoking me, but I didn't move. I just stood like a statue. After that, they got bored or confused, and they walked away finally.
Wow.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, there's just one cat outside the house, but she's walking around. She's fine. I just saw her. Okay.
Right.
So what's going on in New York?
Oh, New York is
just heard.
New York is funny. I mean, it is somehow the kind of worst struck place, right, in this country and even maybe the world, right? There's more happening here, but the least control somehow. There's not so much control. Like I can get in my car and drive anywhere I want, or just walk down the street if I want without a mask. Even
during the night.
Yeah, I could do whenever, whatever I want.
Okay.
Like they saying, stay home, but nobody. I mean, there's like some people, they're controlling, like if there's like a group of people in the park hanging out and having a picnic, that's when they're coming and saying, hey, you must, whatever. But there's I never really felt like I was meant to be inside the house always. And I mean, I stay, of course, and I don't go just because I'm not trying to be, a hero or something like that. But they didn't really force you like to stay. There's no like, if the police would see you walking down the street at 2 a.m, they wouldn't say anything to you. They just whatever. It's fine. My wife works for the fire department. She's a lieutenant in the fire department, and so she's been quite busy, if you could imagine, doing the work that emergency workers do. So I'm basically at home most of the time, being Mr. Mom, because I have two kids, 2 daughters, and they're studying. Kids, and every school went to online. It's an online school, but that means I'm the teacher during the day, making sure they're doing the work.
They're not allowed to go to school?
No school.
Yeah.
No school till next year, I guess. I think it's till September, I think. Yeah. It's going to be.
I mean, Trump is such a big idiot, how he handles, but it will play, and we have the fear that in November, I think is the votes, right? He will do it again. We're very afraid of that.
Yeah, we had the same fear when Bush was coming again, that it would happen again, and it happened again. Yeah, there's no competition for him at this point.
That's the problem, no competition. So he will try to find a way, even with the corona pandemic, he will find a way that people believe in him.
I think it's not going to be hard for him, actually. Just because there's no competition, really. That's the main point. If there was somebody that I mean, Biden looks like a nice guy, but he really is kind of quiet and also I think he's a little bit not like he's getting old in his brain. So he's talking, he forgets what he's talking a lot of time, and people have noticed that. So it's a little bit hard to make people go vote for him. They should have had somebody a little more. Even Bernie would have been a lot better, because he's like super sharp, when he's talking, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
So many people lost their jobs in such a short time in the States. We heard like 30.3 billion people. Okay, we said million. 33 Millionen, 33 million people lost their jobs in the last couple of weeks in the States.
or file unemployment. Yeah, well, nobody's allowed to work. So
unemployment, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're not allowed to work, you lost your job, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
And,
it's really tough for those. I have been fine, where I am doing my thing.
Yeah.
I've been teaching the last few years, so all my teaching has gone online, and my school has gone online, and everything kind of works really well. I mean, actually, kind of a bit booming in a way, because people are looking for something to do while they're sitting at home. So they're like, oh, I can go on this online school and learn from somebody over. So I had no real slowdown.
Okay.
Except that.
And what about new productions, new tracks of you, or new stuff? I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah, no, there is always stuff going on. I was working on some stuff. I was working with a friend of mine, Marco De Prima. I
saw some on Beatport, yeah.
Yeah, and we have a lot of stuff, but we're in the same situation like you. We're not interested in just putting it out so that nobody notices anything. Yet. It's obvious that most DJs, especially not playing right now, and they're not looking for new tracks to play. You got to play on Friday, you got to play on Saturday. You're looking during the week, searching for the hot new thing. Right? If you don't know when you're going to play, and you're wondering where you're going to get paid, where your money's going to come from, and you have other problems, maybe your dad has coronavirus or something like that, you're not really concerned about, what's the new tracks coming out this week.
I have an image for the coronavirus. 1 second. 2020. I just found it. It's from a famous guy, artist from Switzerland. He's called Benny Bischoff. I show it. You can see it. 1 second.
I see something.
Oh, fuck. Where is it? That's it.
All right. What is that?
See it? That's the Corona artwork 2020. You see the Würstel, the sausages?
Yeah, I see the sausages, but I'm like trying to figure out what I'm looking at. That's kind of crazy.
It's like sausages.
Yeah, I get it. I
think it's Kate Moss.
Uh-huh.
But he redid it.
Which sausages? Actually, I'm going to call that amazing.
Huh?
I'm going to call that amazing.
He's called Benny Bischoff.
Yeah, you're an art collector. Yeah. I know you're on the down low art collector. I've noticed that you are on the down low, keeping some art around there.
If I see something I like, I buy it, but not the expensive stuff. But I have a lot of art here. I don't have even any space anymore for buying or hanging up new art. I collected a lot. Yeah, that's true. About a couple of last year, I collected worldwide. It was not always easy to bring it with you in the aircraft, but I try to buy stuff I like,
So on your travels, you saw something and then you were like, I'm bringing this home.
Maybe it's a good idea. If I would sell all the art I have, it would be something, but I don't think about it yet. I have a Ford Mustang, as you know, and I was thinking 1 second if I gonna sell it, to make some money, but I would be very sad, to sell this baby I own since 25 years or more. So I can't do it. I was thinking about it. If there will be a moment, I'm gonna sell it, and
you mean if the gigs don't begin again soon?
Yeah, one day I have to think about it. I don't want to do that. I also thought about selling my record collection.
Do you think that anything would have? Wow, that would be you probably have about what 20,000 records now.
Yeah, a lot.
So would you say that something might happen by the summer as far as parties and gigs are?
I always thought what's gonna happen to the Ibiza season and the Ibiza clubs, because it's like a multi-million-dollar business, and I don't hear much from that side, where all the superstar DJs have their residency at Pacha or Amnesia or former space now called High, and Ushuaia and all this. I mean, you should go there one day and see how the scene has changed. You would not believe it. It's really, because a couple of years, the American games, like Mr. Steve Oaki.
Aoki. Yeah.
Aoki.
Yeah.
So, they took over, and now they didn't push much in the press, but I think they just swept everything 2 months in the future. So they say we don't do the closings in October or end of September. We do the closings in November or December now. So we just start 2 months later, but it's not official because Spanish government and Spanish problems with the coronavirus was really terrible. It still is. But they open restaurants and maybe hotels, but tourists are not allowed to go, and there's no way of seeing any nightclub open in the near future. It would be really a big surprise if the season is gonna open and they're gonna start their parties, every night, with thousands of people. I don't see that. A funny thing is, the German Bundesliga, the soccer league, football league starts tomorrow.
Well, that's a good thing.
I'm not sure because there will be no audience, no people who watch it. It's just live on TV, but without audience. They play inside stadiums with 50 to 80,000 people, but there's nobody allowed to go inside. But they said we have to go on. We need the money of the sponsors and we need the money of the TV stations. We have to play. It doesn't matter, or we don't know how to do it, but they will try to start tomorrow. So this will be very fun.
They already did it with the UFC, with the fighting champion, the Ultimate Fighting. They did
They start doing it again?
They do it. They did already one without any audience, just the fighters.
Yeah. Oops. Okay, now I see.
But this is a big question, right? I mean, do we get back to and which I'm sure is making a lot of performers, DJs very nervous right now about what should happen.
A lot of DJs will think about what to do next, and they have to maybe work as regular jobs, or there's thousands. I mean, the good thing was in Berlin, the city of Berlin was sending out money immediately to all the DJs. I talked to a lot of guys, and they got, let's say, 6,000 to 9,000 euros for the next couple of months to survive, to pay their bills. And
that's quite a lot of money to survive on.
That's a lot of money.
That's actually
in Berlin. Some send out the papers, and they got the money 3 days later. So that was surprising that our government or the city of Berlin acting very fast and very helpfully. But that's for the next couple of months. But, and it's not sure if you have to pay back or how you can use it. I mean, it's all brand new, and a lot of people are struggling. If you follow Facebook or all this news on TV, on actual newspaper, it's confusing. It's really confusing. And our government said the artists, musicians, actors, writers, they are the last ones who got supported. I mean, you got a little money now for people who are DJs or run a label or have a booking agency. There were help, but altogether they said actors and musicians are the last one we're gonna support. So I don't think there will be much help. Also in Austria and other countries, they try to help the big companies like Lufthansa or the Deutsche Bank or whatever, big companies. They ask for money and they will get money from the government, from tax money, from my money, but they don't support the local clubs, bars, restaurants, theaters, cinemas. I think a lot of people will be bankrupt very soon, or already stop doing their business. But it will, if it goes on like that, if there's no parties or festivals or clubs during the summer, how can you survive? There's no income, so they're gonna close down, and that's.
So is this like a big reset button on everything?
It have to, you can't. I mean, people would be happy to start at the same point we stopped, but I think it will be very difficult because a lot of people lost a lot of money, and a lot of people are struggling, and you can't do the same thing again. It will be not the same level. I think about it every day. It's not a restart. You have to think about everything, and now you can see very closely and very clear what went wrong all these years, and that's very clear now, and that's very interesting, and that's I think a big chance to change something in the future, and not become the next superstar DJ or earning millions of dollars a year and have this managing company behind him and stuff. The system. I don't want to talk about it, but it's more like I'm more afraid of the clubs and for the regular DJs and who are really into music, not into business, and who are really are believing that and do that for many years, like you and me.
Yeah, I hear you, man. But oh well, somehow life goes on, right? Somehow we
life goes on, yeah. Cats want some free food now. No, maybe later. So I go to my best friend and see how he's feeling because he's not feeling good, and so I will take care of my friend, and then tonight I go back to Munich. It's like 1 hour drive, and next week I try to go to Berlin to work in the studio, and then I will try to go to Austria because I want to record some set in the mountains with like.
Is it easy getting over to the border?
Austria is very difficult. Austria very, very, very difficult because if you go inside, you can do that, but you need a special paper. But when you go outside, back to Germany, you have to stay another 2 weeks at home. And I called them, and they said, "We're gonna prove it, or the police is gonna prove it. They will come to your house and try to catch you and try to. You have to prove that you stay at home for the next 2 weeks." So that's the situation now. But it's now there's a lot of demonstrations planned on the weekend where people say, "We are the people. We don't want to wear any mask anymore. It's all out of control. We want our future back," kinda, But it's like totally crazy, and they don't wear masks. They just protest against everything, against the lockdown, against losing their work, or against all the limitations. And there's supposed to be 10,000 people in Munich on the Oktoberfest place where they're gonna demonstrate because it's allowed to do demonstration again. And they did it last weekend. There was 3,000 people in Stuttgart. I saw pictures and movies, and I was like, "What's going on? Why they do that? Without masks? Why they all stand together?" And that's a big risk, I think, for the coronavirus is hitting us again very hard. I don't want to think about it, but a lot of people are doing stupid things now.
A lot of people are desperate. A lot of people are getting crazy just being locked up inside their places, not being able to go to work.
It's getting more aggressive here in Germany now because, we are kind of ahead of other countries. I mean, the USA was hit a couple of weeks later because when we started the lockdown, I think in the US there was not much happening, but then it was exploding, and Trump did everything wrong possible. He makes so many wrong decisions. I mean, everybody knows it. So there's protests here on the weekend, and I'm not happy about that. Watching them wearing no mask, partying, whatever kind of partying together, and fight for their right to
die.
Whatever, not to party. They fight for their right to, Grundrechte. It's like the main laws. We don't accept these limitations. We want the freedom of everything. We want it back. So they fight for that. They even fight against the police. There was some fights against the police. So the whole situation is getting more aggressive here.
Well, let's hope that, the summer brings a little more relaxation for everybody.
I hope so. I have no plans for the summer. I mean, no plans, really. I have no plans.
I mean, it looks like you're keeping busy regardless. I mean, you're finding plans. You're working in the studio. You're moving around more than anybody I know. You're going, Munich, Berlin is not very close. That's a long drive,
Yeah.
How are you getting there? You drive your car?
I go with the car.
Yeah, how many hours does that take? 4 or 5?
To Berlin?
Yeah.
I can do it in 5 hours now because there's no traffic. I had a really great experience going there 3 weeks ago. I can count the cars. They were on the highway on the same night, maybe 10, 20.
Really?
It was a great experience to go to Berlin at night. That 3 weeks ago, there was nobody on the highway, on the Autobahn. Nobody. It was an experience I will never forget. It was amazing.
Wow. Yeah. So I guess it's right, empty. And it's totally no problem. It's not you don't have a special permission to drive between cities.
I have a permission from the studio because I work in the studio. Music is also work. And so I have the permission to produce music in Berlin and go there. But I had no permission to stay somewhere.
So you slept in your car or what?
I can sleep in a car. No, I stayed with some friends, but I think officially that was not allowed.
Right.
Because they're not my sisters or not family, or my mother. So I just did it on an illegal level. I did it. Did something wrong.
You're spreading the virus.
Very bad. Very bad.
Right. So, all right, man. Okay. I think we were talking for like over an hour now. It's actually 1 hour 42 minutes we talk.
Fuck, nobody would ever want to listen to that.
Well, we can put it all together. We could chop it up. We see. Let's see what happens.
No, you can release it like it is.
No, I like it. I like the idea of long form, meaning it's just whatever. It's just a conversation. I don't like these like talks where you're like, hey, and tell me about your next project, and then you have to be quick to answer very specific questions so you can have sound bites to like just write a little bit down. I'm more into just long conversations so you get an insight about what is happening to you as a person and being as a person.
Where you gonna release it on YouTube or what?
Yeah, the idea is to put these on YouTube. I'm doing. Let's do that. I got Blake already. Got you now. I'm gonna be just interesting old friends basically. Kind of and just a series of like conversations about life. Yeah,
it's very interesting. I think it's a little long, but
it could be. I don't care if it's 3 hours. To be honest, if
we can talk for another 3 hours.
But problem, you have to. You go to your friend and your cats are waiting for you as well.
Yeah. So let me know when you're gonna release it, so I can put a link on my.
Sure. I'm gonna. I'm gonna collect a few and then have a think about. Maybe you give me some ideas as well. Have a thought about exactly what the good strategy for it would be.
Yeah.
And
cool.
And then we go forward. But thanks, man.
Good to talk to you, Abe.
Good to talk to you too. Maybe we do it again soon. Maybe we just do a series of conversations.
Let's do it again in a month. New situation, new things, new stories.
That sounds great to me.
Okay.
All right, man.
Cool.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.